Buonasera a tutti, good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Viviana and I would like to welcome back our regular listeners and also welcome any new listeners. Also, be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at the Italian Radio Hour and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on any past video interviews. Vorrei dare il benvenuto ai nostri ascoltatori da tutto il mondo, grazie per essere con noi anche oggi, mentre continuiamo il nostro viaggio per l'Italia e la cultura italiana. So today's conversation. So Murano is the island of glass blowers across the lagoon. From here is known for producing vases and glasses with swirls of color and ornate chandeliers, found in many hotels and homes. But some businesses on the crowded little island also produce high fashion jewelry, found on runways and in exclusive social settings around the world. So today we'll talk about the journey of two brothers, Daniele and Stephano Attombri, Venice, and how the remaining stock of glass beads from an old glass factory turn into their path to success. But before, a little pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org. Un caffè, per favore. My first cup of coffee sets the tone for my entire day, and I get my coffee at La Prima Espresso. La Prima has been brewing Pittsburgh's best coffee for nearly 35 years. Try any of their in-house roasted varieties of beans from all over the world at home, or come and enjoy an espresso or a cappuccino at any of their locations, where their friendly baristas and familiar faces will make you feel at home. Because a trip to La Prima is like a trip to Italy, only closer to home. Well, benvenuto, Stefano. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Grazie.
I'm so fascinated. First of all, I have to give a big thank you to my friend Martina Bison. She's also a Venetian, but she happens to be also a childhood friend of yours. And she has seen you going through your path from your beginnings all the way to the runways of Dolce & Gabbana. And when she shared a post about your beautiful story and work, I was truly, truly fascinated. So it is also very unique to be able to talk to a Venetian. So before we get into talking about your beautiful creations, I would like to for you to tell us a little bit about what is Venice to a local person. How does Venice look like when those millions of tourists are no longer crowded your little casa?
Dunque, vivere a Venezia non è semplice. Per un residente a Venezia negli ultimi anni è diventato un po' difficile perché appunto ci sono un po' troppi turisti.
So just I'll catch up with a little bit of a translation. So living in Venice is not that easy, especially in the last few years. And indeed, the flocks of thousands of tourists might create sometimes a little challenges. Prego.
E il problema più grande è che ormai non ci sono quasi più negozi per i residenti, ormai tutto è indirizzato verso il turismo, quindi per una persona che fa una vita normale a Venezia diventa tutto più difficile.
So it looks like the one of the biggest issues is that there are shops for local residents are hard to find. Everything is really catered towards tourism, so this creates some problems.
Per il nostro lavoro invece è bellissimo perché lavori in una città dove passano milioni di persone da tutto il mondo, conosci, questi anni noi lavoriamo a Venezia da 35-36 anni E questo negozio ci ha dato l'opportunità di conoscere tantissime persone in tutto il mondo e ad avere contatti anche per lavoro in tutto il mondo.
For their profession, actually, this is a very good side in a way that this the most beautiful aspect of being in a city that is visited by millions of people from all over the world, because in those 35, 36 years that they have been operating, you indeed meet people from all over the world, and some of them could be also important business connections as well.
E questo ci ha permesso di lavorare in America, in questo momento, negli ultimi anni stiamo lavorando di più in Giappone e ci permette di viaggiare, e quindi è un po' atipica come attività, visto che a Venezia normalmente sono attività molto stanziali, stanno fermi, non si muovono.
Mm-hmm. So this is, something that has given them the opportunity to travel. The U.S. in the last few years, they have also spent quite a few some time in Japan, and this is kind of a typical of the businesses in Venice where they tend to stay put. C'è un posto a Venezia che is there a place in Venice that is your favorite, or one little jewel that might not be that obvious that people should go and visit? Se c'è un posticino a Venezia che è il tuo preferito, oppure una chicca che devi essere veneziano per conoscerla.
Ma io preferisco andare un po' fuori dal centro per avere un po' più di calma, e quindi a me piace più la zona di Castello, verso la zona di San Francesco della Vigna, queste zone che sono meno frequentate dai turisti.
Mm-hmm. So he actually prefers to go a little bit outside the center, because they are a little quieter areas. They're not as crowded with tourists. So more towards Castello in San Francesco della Vigna. Okay, so I think we can dive in a little bit into the conversation on how you and your brother Daniele, sometimes also known as Lele, I guess, started. So a little bit about, we're talking about the 80s, and something happened, I guess a glass factory closed. So how did you start your, what was happening that you got this brilliant idea of starting your own business?
Noi abbiamo iniziato il nostro lavoro alla fine degli anni 80, 1987, e andavamo in giro a Murano per vedere di trovare le perle veneziane. Così in quel periodo lì avevano chiuso questa fabbrica che si chiamava Veneziana Conteria e che fabbricava queste perle piccolissime, colorate, e noi abbiamo avuto l'idea di prenderle quasi tutte, perché avevamo capito che stava cambiando, non c'era più una produzione a Venezia, ma si cominciava ad avere una produzione fuori dall'Italia. Mm-hmm. E noi dovevamo continuare con la tradizione veneziana.
Okay, so their business started towards the end of the 80s, so around 1987. And where Stephano and Daniele were going around the Murano Island, which is again famous for their glass tradition. And what they were looking for is they were trying to acquire those little beads, colorful, very little beads and very colorful, that are typical of the Venetian tradition, because one of the producers was actually going out of business, and they kind of realized that also the production of this business, these beads, was moving outside Italy. So they wanted to do something that would keep the Venetian tradition alive. But let me ask you one question prior to your buying spree. Did you have any previous experience with working with beads, or what drawn you to the beads? Avevate prima di iniziare ad acquistare questi stock, avevate dell'esperienza a lavorare con le perline, o che cosa vi ha attirato?
No, non avevamo nessuna esperienza e ci ha attirato l'idea di creare, utilizzando un materiale tipicamente veneziano, di creare qualcosa di più moderno rispetto a quello che c'era all'epoca, ed avere delle idee, un design diverso, mescolare le due cose, la tradizione e la modernità. E abbiamo imparato studiando delle tecniche che abbiamo trovato su vari libri, dai Maya, varie tecniche anche per colorare i metalli. Abbiamo creato questo mix tra il metallo, noi usiamo molto metallo, e il vetro veneziano.
So again, the question was if they had any previous experience working with beads, and the answer was actually no. They were drawn by the idea of creating something that would utilize the something Venetian, traditional of Venice, but with a more modern approach to the designs, something different from what it was being produced in those years. And so it was really the idea of mixing tradition and a modern aspect. So they started by studying several techniques, including the Mayas. They kind of learn how to color also metal. And again, they created their own style that indeed mixes both metal and the glass. Do you remember by chance what was the first piece that you and Daniele design? Is it exhibited somewhere, it's been sold, or is in the archives, so to speak, in the museum?
Le prime cose erano cose molto semplici, erano cose molto, proprio la base, mettere due perline colorate, mescolate, con proprio una cosa semplice. Poi però abbiamo cominciato a guardare un po' le sfilate di moda, queste cose. Prendevamo all'epoca, non c'era internet all'epoca, quindi si andava avanti con vari giornali, e abbiamo visto che potevamo creare qualcosa nella nostra immaginazione per vari stilisti italiani. E così abbiamo cominciato a creare immaginando le nostre cose indossate dai vestiti di vari stilisti italiani, e poi abbiamo avuto il coraggio di andare a proporle, e poi sono state prese per le sfilate e abbiamo sfilato.
I asked about their initial pieces, whether it was something that they remembered or sits in the archives, so to speak, of what had been created. So, Stephano is saying it was a very humble beginning, maybe a couple of, beads and some wire and everything. But obviously that was a long time ago. Then they started to get a little more sophisticated in their designs, and mainly looking also what was happening in the fashion world at the runway, and we have to remember then there was no internet yet, so they could not surf the internet to get inspiration or to see what was happening. So magazines, fashion magazines, is where they would imagine their creations on the designers' models, until they had, so to speak, the courage to go ahead and propose some of their designs to indeed those famous fashion designers. And again, this is a big jump. So how long do you think it took the business to get to that point? Because obviously, having started as maybe a smaller artisanal shop to then being on the runway, it doesn't happen overnight. Was it something that happened, coincidence, just a lot of persistence? Can you tell us?
Audacia e tenacia, per noi è il nostro motto, ripagano sempre.
So audacity and perseverance, tenacity.
C'è voluta molta pazienza, ci sono stati momenti molto molto duri, molto difficili, però ci abbiamo sempre creduto e abbiamo sempre insistito.
So obviously there were times that were not that easy, but they indeed persevere, and that has paid off. So I wanted to share maybe one picture of, but then I want to go back again. I just want to give our viewers an idea of this one piece. This was a Dolce & Gabbana runway, if I'm not mistaken. And let's see if we can zoom a little bit on the piece. So your pieces are nice and bold, one of a kind. That's usually the main thing, that these pieces are unique. They're not mass produced. Can you so this piece that then got photographed everywhere. Tell us a little bit, how were you given any guidelines, or did you design the piece and propose it? So how was the process, like here, the chicken and the egg? Did they give you guidelines, or did you have the piece and propose to them?
Noi non abbiamo mai fatto delle cose ordinate da altri, noi abbiamo sempre proposto quello che avevamo creato prima. E anche questo pezzo qui, che era per Dolce & Gabbana, noi avevamo preparato questa collezione pensando ai vestiti di Dolce & Gabbana, e poi siamo riusciti, dopo lunghe telefonate, dopo lunghe insistenze, ad avere un appuntamento, e loro, appena le hanno viste, le hanno scelte subito per la sfilata a Milano, che si svolgeva qualche giorno dopo.
This is a great story. So one of the things is that they don't work on commission. So they create their pieces and then they will propose it. So in this case, it was exactly the same thing, where they had already created a piece, and after endless attempts for phone calls or meetings, they managed to get an appointment with the Dolce & Gabbana team. And so as soon as they saw the piece, they fell in love with it, and they included right away in the upcoming fashion show that was going to take place in Milan. So that is amazing. I wanted to show just some black and white pictures, and this is obviously pre Attombri time, but this is indeed the tradition of the ladies that were sitting outside putting beads. I have a few of them, so I'll try to share the ones I had got. So was this a typical, obviously this is also pre your time, but from what you hear, maybe family recollections, was this a typical scene in Venice, in that area, to see these ladies outside stringing the beads? Questo naturalmente è molto prima dei tuoi tempi, e quindi era una tradizione che si vedeva spesso a Venezia nei tempi, non lo so, forse della nonna.
Ma io ricordo benissimo che quando ero piccolo, che avevo i parenti di mia madre vivevano nella zona di Castello, e quando andavo a trovarli c'erano tutte le donne sedute fuori in calle che facevano questo lavoro. Era una specie, per Venezia, di welfare familiare, nel senso che arrotondavano le entrate facendo questo lavoro tutte le donne per strada.
So Stefano clearly remembers actually when he was going to visit his grandmother in Castello that this would be a typical scene. I mean, it was normal to see these ladies working, stringing the beads, because it was kind of the additional income that they would earn for the family. These ladies have a name in Venetian dialect, right? How would you call these ladies that string beads?
Impiraresse, si chiamano impiraresse.
Okay. And kind of, looking at the geographical, obviously, differences, how this was the art in Venice, and then you go to another part of Italy, for instance, Puglia, Bari, and you see the ladies making orecchiette. Kind of the same principle of being outside, showing the craft, and also earning some money. And I wanted to see if I can get a video while we continue this conversation, where there are some images of actually that happening in your beautiful boutique. Where did you start, and where are you located now?
Dove
avevate iniziato e invece dove vi siete poi trasferiti?
Noi abbiamo iniziato vicino a Piazzale Roma, vicino all'Università di Architettura, ai Tolentini, con un piccolo negozio. E dopo, alla fine degli anni 90, ci siamo trasferiti a Rialto e siamo ancora a Rialto.
So obviously their location, their current location is not the first one. They had started near the university in a smaller shop, and now they're more visible near the Rialto Bridge. So you are in Vetrina, you are in the window constantly. And how does it feel? Do you even notice that, you're like totally in your zone, or do you still feel the energy of people passing and stopping by? Essere in vetrina è una cosa che ormai non notate più, oppure sentite ancora l'energia del pubblico dall'altra parte della vetrina che osserva, si ferma, commenta?
No, vabbè, ci siamo abituati, perché dopo 35-36 anni ci si abitua, però è sempre piacevole sentire anche i commenti delle persone fuori, e vedere che sono interessate. Tante persone non riescono a capire il tipo di lavoro, allora entrano, cercano di capire come funzionano le nostre tecniche, cosa facciamo. Alla fine, come c'è qui adesso sul video, noi facciamo il lavoro delle impiraresse, solo che loro usavano 15-30 aghi alla volta, noi ne usiamo uno alla volta, siamo molto più lenti. Però continuiamo questa tradizione.
So being kind of in the window, so to speak, obviously they kind of got used after 35 years, but it is still very pleasant to hear the comments from the passerbys and the clients looking at the windows and showing interest. Maybe sometimes they don't grasp or then understand right away, the technique or the type of work that is required to create a piece of jewelry. So they might come in and, to see the techniques. And so what they're doing is indeed still carry on the old tradition of the ladies, so to speak, that strung beads, the impiraresse, but they use the ladies 15 needles. They go with one needle at a time. So your pieces obviously are for who do you imagine wearing your creations? And do you think of the wearer in the creation, or do you get inspirations from, where do you get your inspiration?
Siamo molto diversi, io e mio fratello. Io parlo per il mio punto di vista. Io prendo ispirazione quasi sempre da una donna che passa o che vedo per strada e immagino la collana che potrei creare per lei. Magari poi non la vedrò mai più, però è quel momento che mi dà l'ispirazione e poi mi invento questa collana.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I think we are done with showing the video again. So your inspiration is from maybe a face, a woman that you have seen, and you project how your creation will look on this individual, and it could be a woman that you will never see again. So this is your process. How about Daniele, since you said you are very different in your approach?
Daniele è molto più tecnico di me e infatti lui si occupa più della parte con il metallo perché è molto più preciso nel lavoro con il metallo, con il filo. Io invece sono un po' più creativo, nel senso che non ho un'idea ben chiara, comincio e poi non so cosa succederà.
So Daniele is the one that between the two is a little more technical. So he tends to use more the metal. And so again, he's more precise with the thread and so forth, whereas Stefano is the more creative. So he would start and then see where that goes. So I wanted to give an idea of again some of the pieces, and then you can tell us, do you start and finish your own creation, or sometimes you might do a part of it and not always, sometimes, and Daniele would take care of an aspect of the same piece?
Molto, molto spesso collaboriamo, cioè io faccio una parte, poi viene finita o viceversa, cioè, collaboriamo, facciamo le cose insieme molto spesso. Poi ci sono certi pezzi, certi che sono quasi sempre unici, che ognuno fa il suo, inizia e lo porta alla fine.
So it's not uncommon that they might collaborate on a piece. Obviously, all these pieces are one of a kind, so it could be also that one starts and finishes its own piece as well. Let's talk a little bit about your experience overseas. Let's move to either the United States or Japan. Which one was your first destination, and how did you make that transition, that entrance, so to speak, in those two big geographical areas? So
noi abbiamo iniziato i primi lavori all'estero, li abbiamo fatti in America. E abbiamo lavorato a New York, a Boston, San Francisco, abbiamo girato. E poi da un certo punto in poi ci ha affascinato l'Oriente e abbiamo lasciato, anche se ci piacerebbe adesso tornare in America, negli Stati Uniti, però per molti anni abbiamo preferito l'Oriente e il Giappone.
So the first entrance to international markets was actually in the United States, with experiences in New York, in Boston, in San Francisco, and kind of they traveled around. And then after that, they were drawn from the Far East, so that's how they landed in Japan. And although they wouldn't mind returning to the United States. How much is maybe the culture that you are exposed to or have been exposed to in Japan? How much has it influenced some of your designs, or even other cultures?
Ma sicuramente il Giappone ci ha ispirato tantissimo. Il Giappone ha un artigianato ancora molto molto vivo, quindi per noi è un paese che ci ha sempre dato tante ispirazioni. E anche il modo di fare che hanno, devo dire che ci ha influenzato molto negli ultimi anni. l'America ci ha dato l'energia, cioè America, quando abbiamo lavorato in America c'era queste grandi città che per noi che appunto arriviamo da Venezia, abituati a altri ritmi, altre velocità, ci ha dato una botta di energia che ci mancava forse.
So from Japan, obviously, Japan still has a very strong culture in the artisanal, in the craftsmanship, in creating local products. So they got a lot of inspiration from it. So, and also the way that they approach their creations and the way of operating. So that has influenced them greatly. From the United States, it's almost like the United States was your Red Bull, like a shock of a big dose of energy, where you were used to maybe different pace of life, different rhythms of working, and here is the big cities with the big skyscrapers, and really gave them an energy boost. Just going back to some of the events that have happened. So from Japan, when were you actually in Japan? You spent some time there, right?
Quando
Sì, in Giappone, quali sono, diciamo, il periodo, diciamo, di influenza giapponese?
gli ultimi 10 anni.
In the last time.
Sì, gli ultimi 10 anni sicuramente sono anni che il Giappone ci ha influenzato di più.
Okay. So now obviously, are the pieces that you created for that market differ? Your vision is different, or or was your approach more of bringing the Italian style, the Venetian style pieces, and let them appreciate? So I was wondering if, again, some of the creations for that region, or also in the United States, were catered to meet a little bit of their taste as well, or it was just, let's introduce them to our Venetian style, our Venetian imagination.
Ma io penso che lo stile veneziano sia sempre alla base del nostro lavoro. Dopodiché l'abbiamo mescolato, abbiamo avuto questo incontro di varie culture e così, però lo stile veneziano penso che rimanga sempre evidente, insomma. No?
So, obviously the Venetian style is at the base of all their productions, and it might have seen influence from these experiences, but pretty much the Venetian style is what is at the base. So there was something that I wanted to ask you about, and that was indeed a collaboration with a sculptor, with Lucio Bubacco. These again might not always be familiar names overseas. So can you tell us a little bit about this collaboration that you had?
Dunque con Lucio Bubacco noi abbiamo un'amicizia da molti anni e lui penso che sia uno dei più grandi maestri vetrai per la tecnica del lume, quindi dove si scioglie il vetro su una fiamma, e lui è un esperto e molto bravo a creare figure femminili o lui è specializzato in diavoli, angeli, figure mitologiche e qualche volta, non sempre, però ci viene voglia di lavorare insieme e abbiamo creato varie collezioni insieme, e che anche queste sono state apprezzate, insomma, sia in America che in Giappone.
Mhm. For those of you that might not be familiar with the name of Lucio Bubacco, so to them was also a longtime friend, but he is probably one of the most famous maestros in the lamp, in the glass blowing tradition. And so the melting, so to speak, of the glass over a flame, and his expertise, or at least some of his more well-known designs, would be female figurines. It could be little devils, it could be angels, and or characters from mythology. So they on and off, they, so to speak, collaborate. They have created some collections together. And so I was wondering, there was one necklace that had a little bit of, had a little angel. I'm gonna share my screen, and then you can tell me whether this is one of your pieces, just, you know, the Attombri, or is potentially from a collaboration with Bubacco. So I was wondering, because you mentioned angels, so I was wondering if this might be one of his pieces or not.
Sì, yes.
Okay. So here you see how they blend beautifully with your work and this angel, this beautiful figure that seems to be suspended.
Questa è praticamente tutto lavoro di mio fratello in collaborazione con Bubacco.
Okay. We are almost at the end of our lovely conversation. So I was wondering if there is anything happening, if you can tell again where you are located, and and hopefully we will see you back in the United States. But I was wondering if it is anything particular that you are working on or would like to share with us.
Non ho capito, scusa.
Sì, volevo sapere se c'è un qualcosina di su che cosa state lavorando, se c'è qualche evento, qualche cosina in particolare che volete condividere. E io adesso un attimo condivido anche il sito e ribadiamo anche dove siete posizionati.
Sì.
Mm-hmm.
Noi adesso stiamo lavorando per un progetto che ci sarà in Giappone.
Mm-hmm.
Ci sono due progetti, uno a giugno e uno a novembre, e stiamo, per quello di novembre probabilmente lo faremo in collaborazione con Bubacco, e molto probabilmente andremo, io e Bubacco andremo in Giappone a questa mostra che ci sarà a novembre.
So there are two projects coming up. Both of them are also linked to Japan. So one project, one exhibit will be in June, and then the other one is going to be in November. And most likely this is going to be another collaboration with Bubacco, where Stephano and Bubacco will be traveling to Japan for this exhibit. So I see also that your website caters to the multilingual customer base that you have. So again, attombri.com. And as I said, you can start dreaming, because next time I'll be in your area, I'll definitely stop to meet you in person first, and then I'm very, very passionate about the creation of unique pieces of jewelry. Growing up, a dear friend of my father was an orefice, so I would spend hours and hours just seeing working, creating, designing, polishing, and so that would be like being in Wonderland for me. Well, grazie a te. Our time is unfortunately up. It is time to, il Big Ben ha detto stop, it is time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. We want to thank you for tuning into the program. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any travel topics you would like us to address, please contact us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And remember, if you or any of your family and friends have missed a prior episode or would like to listen to this episode again, please visit our website at www.istitutomonditaliano.org and click on the Italian Radio Hour tab. You can also subscribe to the Italian Radio Hour on YouTube or where you catch your favorite podcasts. I would like to profusely thank our guest Stephano Attombri. Un saluto a Daniele.
Grazie.
Our sponsor Istituto Mondo Italiano, La Prima Espresso e alla Buara for the music. Until next time, alla prossima. Ciao ciao.
Ciao, ciao, grazie.